lights on their car, either Mr. Doble or us. The blood one, hands down. But anyway, what I'm here to talk about is some of the radio procedures. We've noticed that they've gotten a little lax. We want to make sure that you guys understand what it is that we do. So you all know that you guys are dispatched. How many here know where they're dispatched from? Anyone? Okay.
Not since he moved.
Not since we moved that, that's cheating now. Okay, how about CMED? Everybody know what CMED is? No. Everybody know what CMED is, right? Okay, how many people know that they're both the same place?
Dispatch to CMED?
Dispatch and CMED are both in the same place. So when you're talking, you may get a different voice. You may get a different voice on the radio, but it's the exact same place. So you don't necessarily have to give us a full information as to where you're coming from, who you are, or whether you have the medic on board or whether you're not. You know, there's a lot of, scenes can get kind of hectic. So we understand that if you called on the dispatch line and said that you're transporting to Stanford with 310, and you call CMED and you're saying this is 313 to CMED with 310 on board, we kind of figured that you didn't drop them off on the way. Okay, you didn't leave them on the, we're going to leave you at the exit to the highway. You can go. So we know that you're all together. It's all the same group. Again, maybe a different voice, but it's all in the same group. One of the things that we've started to notice is you have two coordination channels. You have Med 5, which is to coordinate Stanford calls, and Med 10, which coordinates the Norwalk calls. Over the last couple of weeks, we've noticed you guys have, crews have been calling in on Med 5 when they're transporting to Norwalk. Okay, now, the problem with that is, one, we're not necessarily ready for that, but it also, since it's the coordination channel, all of the EMS that are going to Norwalk are on that channel, and will know when you talk that you're going to Norwalk. So they won't necessarily interrupt, or they will wait until you're clear of your patch or however you want to go. Similarly with Stanford, it's the same way. All the folks to the south, Stanford and Greenwich, monitor that Med 5. So if you're going into Stanford, you should call us on Med 5 so that the area units down there know that you're going down to Stanford. The other problem is a little more technical problem. It has to do with where those radio sites are. So Med 5 is based out of Stanford Hospital. So if you're going to Norwalk, you're actually going away from the tower. So the chances of losing that connection exist. It's a very strong radio. We still do hear you. It's not that big an issue, but there is a possibility of us losing that connection if somebody with a stronger radio closer to that tower talks over you. Same thing with Norwalk. If you're going towards Stanford, you're going away from Norwalk. It's creating distance between that radio and you, and somebody who is closer might be able to walk on top. Other than that, you guys do a phenomenal job. You do a good job of being brief. One of the things that we've noticed, and it's not just with your organization, but with a lot of volunteer organizations, you'll hear the police go out on a call, and you'll get in the ambulance and you'll go before we're finished doing what we're doing. We caught just happened next door today, where they went rolling out on a call and we hadn't even dispatched it yet because they heard the cops were going. That's not a good thing to do insurance-wise, because you don't know what it is, how you're supposed to respond, whether we're going to be going lights and siren or not going lights and siren. Similarly, if we dispatch you and we tell you that it's normal travel, go normal travel. If you decide that not you're going to go lights and siren because you want to get there quick because you can hear the cops yelling, and they do. I worked with them for 20 years, so I know some guys can panic. They want the ambulance there. We used to have the ABCs, it was ambulance before cops. So they don't want to get their hands dirty. If you do that, you wind up creating liability on your association. If you get in an accident and a call that it turns out wasn't justified to be going lights and siren, you open yourselves up for liability, and you don't want that. It can create all kinds of problems. Similarly, If we ask you to stage for a call prior, don't go into the call till the police finish. Please stage. We don't want you guys getting hurt. We don't want you creating an issue for law enforcement. A person may be completely calm and talking well, speaking with the officers and have everything under control, and then all of a sudden they'll see the ambulance and they don't want to go to the hospital, and can change the whole situation on the officers. So the officers can get hurt, and you guys can get hurt. There was an incident where a number of years back, one of our dispatchers had sent one of the commercial services up the line, told them to stage, and they were backing in the driveway, and the cops wanted to know why are they backing in the driveway, we still haven't gotten the weapon away from this person. So there's a lot of things that can go on. There's also been situations where they've staged too close, and the victim has come to walk to the ambulance and said, "Hi, you're looking for me." And so if we ask you to stage, or we tell you to stage, we really want you to stage. It's for your safety and as well as safety of the other responders. Do you have any questions? Yes?
So if we hear that police are going on a call, right, is it safe or is it okay to go start normal travel that direction if we know it's like on the other side of town?
I wouldn't recommend it. I would wait, you know, there's nothing wrong with you getting into the ambulance, pulling the ambulance out and waiting for us to let you know where to go. Because those situations can change. The information, depending on the information that the police took before they sent their officer, can be completely different than what we have. Okay, we try to verify, and that's also lets you know what you're going into. So again, I've got no problem with going down, getting prepared to go, and pulling out in the parking lot and getting ready, you know, aiming yourself in the right direction. But I wouldn't recommend getting out there, because anything can happen in that short time frame. Drivers are very distracted. I mean, when I started as a police officer, I had already been in EMS. And I used to have, other officers used to get mad at me because I would have my police car and I'd be going lights and siren, and I would stop at an intersection, even if I had a green light. I would stop at the intersection and make sure that everybody saw me. They're like, "Why do you do that?" And I said, "I drove an ambulance for 5 years." I said, "People pull out in front of a big white box with lights and siren on it." I said, "They're not gonna see a little police car." So even if you don't have your lights going, the fact that you're on the road is a distraction. And drivers today, you know, they have a hard enough time paying attention to what they're doing, and so I wouldn't recommend going to the call until you're distracted. Anything else? Yes?
I have a question about the frequencies when we're talking to CMED, because my understanding is we're always on our frequency is much more involved with patch. Is that what you're talking about, patching in particular?
Yes, generally, when you call in to make your request for a patch in the back, you're usually on the coordinating channel, which is either Med 5 or Med 10. If you're at Med 5, this is
So,
the
that's new for me, because my understanding was when we called in to ask for a patch, it was on our frequency, and then you directed us what frequency to go on to for the patch.
We can do that as well. You can do it either, but we like to have the requests for the patches to come off of the coordinating channels. It makes it easier. Again, if you're at the scene, and because you're still going to have to change to a med channel for the patch. So if you're at the scene and you're on your portable, and you ask, you want a patch, you get a quick patch to the hospital because it's an extra case, it's going to be an extended amount of time, and you want to give them a trauma alert or something along those lines. You can call and ask us for that on your own channel. We prefer to do it off the coordinating channel because that's what they're there for. That particular channel, like as I mentioned before, lets the other area services
Oh,
know
I
that you're involved.
understand it,
Yeah.
it's just different than what we were trained to do, because we're asking for the patch on our channel, unless something's changed about it.
I wasn't aware of it.
Shouldn't be.
I believe you're right, you're right, but that's the way we were doing it, but it sounds like we're kind of going back to the way it was before we went to dispatch.
Yes, sir.
And I'd be in agreement with that. Historically, you would ask us to go to Med 10 if you wanted us on Med 10. But now, what we'll do is we'll receive and say responding on post channel. At that point, we're gonna switch to Med 10. So the next transmission is gonna be, we're on scene.
Not on Med 10.
Not
All
on
of
Med
those
10.
are happening on our, the
No.
only reason you're switching to Med 10 is to ask for
To ask for the
patch.
patch.
Yeah.
Okay.
All the other
It's just in the back. It's not the
The
driver.
driver will never be on any of those.
Okay.
And like I said, and we've seen this before, if the crew in the back, if the driver is asking for the patch, he can go ahead and ask that over the dispatch channel, and we will direct him to what med channel it is. And then he can let the crew in the back, if the crew is busy and doesn't have time to ask for the patch, go ahead and ask for it on the EMS channel, we'll tell him to go to whichever med 4, I have too many med channels, 7, yeah. And then they can switch the radio in the back and do the patch off of that. So again, like I said, it is the same place, but we prefer to do all of the coordinating, making the patch, requesting and making the patches off of those channels. Because then the hospitals can monitor it, for us for tracking purposes. It lets us know. It also frees up the dispatcher, the EMS dispatcher for other duties that might be going on at the same time. Generally, when we have folks assigned to work up there, you have somebody that's working specifically assigned to the med channel coordinating and patching, and you have someone that's assigned to do the dispatch. As we're getting busier, we're gonna be hiring more folks and dividing up the duties, because we are getting a lot busier with the dispatch. We also have the ability to, again, we dispatch during a fire as well. So when, I know you guys coordinate very well with them, but if there is ever an issue where you need our help and want to talk directly to them, we can patch you guys together with them and you can talk directly with fire. I'm sure you already have the fire channel. So there's a lot of different things we can do. A lot of information we can get you. I know I gave this talk a few years back, but there are a lot of resources that we can get for you for your scenes when you have, mass casualty. The best part about it is all you can say is, we need more, and we can get that for you. We talk to everybody around town. We've actually started. You guys were the second to start the line coverage. Was it called? Stanford and Greenwich have been doing this for years, where when all their rigs were out, while the rigs were out, they'd call either one and ask for an ambulance to stand by. We've been doing it for you guys with Stanford. When your rigs are all busy, we'll call Stanford, and Stanford will have a unit stand by us at 9. Since we've started that, a lot of the other towns further up the line are looking to do that as well. Just to decrease the amount of time it takes to get mutual aid response. Because we're seeing a lot more. Some of the other organizations aren't as big as this. They don't have as many members, and so they have a lot hard time finding sometimes daytime coverage, sometimes it's overnight coverage. But it's all different. But we coordinate all of that. We do the task force for the fire departments and
I've been told many times in the past that you aren't supposed to say anything like thank you on the radios. I've just been told, like, if the like the guys that look at CMED, because you guys have a boss too, I think,
Oh, yeah.
who looks at you, and if they're catching us saying like thank yous and stuff, they'll get mad.
Absolutely.
No, we're good with that?
With our guys, with our guys, as long as it's not, we are, yeah,
Have a
thank
good
you,
night.
yeah, have a good night, that kind of stuff.
All right, so that's all good.
We don't, don't do it too often, but we don't, there's no punishment.
Okay, just making sure we don't.
We like to be courteous over the radio. We've got no problem with all that kind of stuff. We've had occasions where we've had to apologize for our own actions.
So speaking along those lines, can you give us a rundown of what transmissions might be troublesome to these people that are at CMED, or what's frustrating, what we can do better, what we're doing well?
There really isn't a whole lot. Okay, one request would be to listen before you go ahead and go to talk. We have had a few occasions where you get people that are all trying to sign on and you're kind of jamming each other up. So make sure that the radio is clear, nobody else is talking. Other than that, you come in loud and clear. Try not to speak too fast. I understand how it can get exciting or nervous. A lot of folks, we do occasionally get the nervous laughter when they start to talk and somebody does something stupid, makes you laugh. It's easy, just like go ahead. There isn't a whole lot. I mean, we could talk eons about these other folks, but we don't have that large an issue here. Again, just slow. Think about what you're going to say before you say it, and then just speak slowly. Speak normally. We don't have an issue with you guys overmodulating, which is when somebody sounds like they swallowed the mic, and you're talking too loud. We had that with some of our folks up where we are. We're trying to get better with that, so that you can understand us. Because again, that's the key. The whole communication cycle. You've got a sender, a receiver. You've got the message, the medium that's going through, and then the most important part is the feedback. Okay, when you give a message, you want to make sure it's understood and been received. So when you call us, the key is you call us, 313 dispatch. Wait for dispatch to answer, okay? Because of the fact that they are very busy, they may not be ready to copy what it is that you're gonna say. They may be on the phone with another 911 call, they may be talking to fire, or they may be, in some cases, they may be doing a couple of different towns, handling their dispatch. So they may be doing something, so call and wait for them to answer. And likewise, we do our best to do the same. We try not to, we call you, we try not to blurt out too much information for you. A lot of times what we want to do is, because it's very similar with dispatching and fire service, just because the ambulance signs on, we may be waiting for the medic to sign on or the supervisor to sign on before we give you additional information about the call, because we don't want to give it out 5-6 times. So we will wait for others to sign on in that case. And then just make sure you're speaking clearly, because sometimes we'll get confused when you're calling, like say you want to talk to the supervisor or you want to talk to 310. Sometimes when they're very busy, they'll hear 313 call up and we'll answer because we've got all the plates spinning in the air. So we do make mistakes. We are human. But just speak clearly.
Once the patch goes through to the hospital, are you still hearing the patch? And I'm asking, the conversation between us and the hospital, I'm asking because very often it's very mumble on their side and
The hospital.
hear the hospital, we have no idea what room we're going to, or they can really hurt us.
The way the system works is we can hear it for the most part if we stay hooked up on it. God, this is getting into very deep into the peller head part of the joke.
Maybe
The individual that sets up the patch cannot unless they actually listen in. The other folks can hear it. So if you can't hear what the hospital says and you want them to repeat, you can call us, or I think we have the ability to pull it up let's do it on tape.
Go back to 5 and say.
Go back to 5 and say, yeah, we didn't understand that. Or to ask the hospital, you can ask the hospital again and then tell us, hey, can you buzz the hospital again and we'll get them. Most of the time we have a problem with the hospitals answering at all. Not to mention, but it's not right next door, but a little further down, they have a hard time answering the radios. And that gets us aggravated because we're spending an exorbitant amount of time trying to get their attention. And the medics and EMS personnel get very frustrated. And so I said, well, just show up at the door with a cardiac arrest. We called you, we beat you twice. So the one benefit that we have also is we can do phone patches if you're having a hard time. You're doing and you still need to talk to the doc, or if you're in an area where you don't think the radio is coming through. If you call on your cell phone, call up to CMED, and we'll arrange the patch, and that way it's taped. So that's the one thing that we want to stress with everybody as far as the the management of your calls and medical records, et cetera. Going through CMED, all this stuff is taped, and we archive it, per state statute, we hold it for 30 days, unless we get notified that it needs to be saved. So keep that in mind when you have a call that you think, hey, this was an important call, that Joe, no, and he can send us up a document, say, mark that tape, and we'll mark it, hold it. If it never gets used, it never gets used, but at least it's being held. Same thing with the phone, with phone stuff. And we do it, and we can get it fairly quickly, especially during the day. I have that stuff readily available. We had Norwalk had a crazy call that they wanted to hear the patch, and I had the tape back for them in 15 minutes. I said I think they were still transferring the patient over to the ER when they already had the patch down to the supervisor. So, yes, sir.
How many operators do you have on duty in a typical, daytime shift, and does it change at nighttime?
Yes, right now, because of our staffing level, we actually went through a bit of an issue with being short-staffed and also having the flu kind of work its way through our crowd. For those that didn't get the flu shot up there. We wound up dropping to 12-hour shifts, and we were averaging 3 dispatchers on per shift. So now that we're going back to our regular 8-hour shifts, and we're bringing in, we've got new hires that are coming in, we've established a new position of call taker, which is going to be kind of the entry-level position where they're going to be trained in EMD and all the phone system type stuff and CAD and how to enter calls. And they're going to start as a call taker, and their job is specifically going to be handling the phone calls. That is actually going to give us an extra person, so we're going to be having 4 folks that are going to be working the radio, plus 1 call taker. So it's going to be 5 during the day and 5 in the evening. And then on the overnights, we're going to move up to 3. We were going down to 2. Right, currently we have 2. There are 2 folks assigned at midnights at a minimum. We want to make sure that we meet the NFPA national standard, which requires structured fire call. NFPA requires a supervisor and 2 dispatchers to be on for that. So we're going to move up to having 3 and 4. We are looking at possibly taking on some police dispatching for some of the local communities further up the line. When that happens, we're going to be moving up to even more. We'll probably be going to 6 during the day, 6 in the evening, and 4 during the overnight.
Frank, can you maybe just, for those who don't know, talk about the geographical area that you
That
cover,
we cover.
how many
Okay.
times, and how many do you dispatch for?
Okay, so the southwest region that we cover is 16 municipalities. We basically cover from Milford all the way down to the New York line. We cover the 6 area hospitals. We have Greenwich, Stamford, Norwalk, Bridgeport, St. Bees, and Milford Hospital. We are located in Shelton. We dispatch Shelton EMS. We are looking to possibly do more for the city of Shelton, but that's still in the works. The proposal's there. It's the politics side that we're waiting to finish off. We dispatch Monroe Fire and Monroe EMS. We put me to a test here. We dispatch Trumbull Fire and Trumbull EMS, Darien Fire, Darien EMS. We dispatch New Canaan EMS. We dispatch Wilton EMS. And that's it. We provide EMD pre-arrival instructions for Weston, Reading, and Easton. So when their 911 call gets a call from an ambulance or a medical call, they will do the initial EMS. If it needs any pre-arrival instructions like CPR instructions, blood control, things like that, they then transfer the call to us while they send their EMS to them. So we provide the coordination for all those hospitals. So that means we're speaking with all the EMS group, Greenwich EMS, Stanford EMS, you guys, Norwalk EMS, Fairfield. They are serviced by AMR. The city of Bridgeport, we monitor their channels, and both those hospitals are very busy. That's one of the the positions that actually has one single dispatcher that just stays on Med 9 and does all the coordinating for Bridgeport and St. Vincent's. That's a long day. They can be very busy. So it's a unique area. We listen to Stratford EMS. We coordinate with everybody. We have a general idea. I know you guys have the a CAD view downstairs where you can see the calls, right? Okay, now does your CAD view just show your calls, or does it show some of the stuff going on in the area? Okay. We're trying to get that. We're trying to provide that for all of the services. We actually offer that to emergency operations centers, so that they can get an idea of what's going on in the community when they're having some type of a major event. We can set that up for them real quick, and you can see. But it gives you a general idea. We monitor the whole region, so our dispatchers can see everything that's going on. So when folks call for mutual aid, we're sending mutual aid, and they ask, why are you sending them? It may be because, well, the town there is kind of busy themselves, have to bring it in. So we kind of coordinate that and keep track of it, so that we don't totally strip a town or an area of their services. We're actually starting to work with, we just started a program with the Coast Guard to start working, providing them with communications for the coastline. Because right now, your Marine divisions all have communications with Coast Guard. But yet, if it's an emergency where they're looking for EMS, they're trying to figure out how to coordinate that with both of them. So we're working with the Region 1 group to get a frequency that a Marine frequency that's going to coordinate with the state frequencies, and you'll all be able to have it in your radios and be able to turn it. There's a lot of technology out there that we're trying to take advantage of. The question is doing it the right way so it benefits all of us and doesn't add an additional cost burden. They're looking at over the next, we've got a project over probably the next 5 years. We're looking at replacing the CMED radios with going on to the state core frequency, which is going to allow you to communicate anywhere in the state on it. And we're looking at it from the standpoint of, we understand that there's a cost to the services. So we figured out, and this is my boss and I who have been involved with purchasing and things along those lines, we realize that eventually you're going to need to be replacing those radios anyway, because they're going to be going out of their life cycle. So let's plan, when we do these upgrades, to upgrade to this new system and move it forward, rather than have you guys totally scrap a system that's still working and move it forward. So we're thinking along the lines of being fiscally responsible for the services when it comes to replacing these things, and moving forward. But there's a lot of things on the horizon. Technically, you guys are all going to have a big advantage because you guys have already learned this stuff in school, and I had to play catch up with all this stuff. There are a lot of things. When I first took my EMT class, and I was going to go out and save the road, because I was going to be Johnny Gage or Roy DeSoto, all depending on whether I wanted to drive or not. If you told me when I walked out of Stanford Hospital with my EMT certificate that I was going to be in the year 2000, you're going to be talking about radios, and you're going to know about RF and all this other stuff, I'm looking at that. Forget it. So,
Tell us how thick that book was.
which?
The EMT.
The EMT book there too? I was about that then. It was only, I think my class was only 120 hours. Jody White.
Now it's 180.
I saw, well, I know, my son a year ago, almost a year ago exactly, got his NREMT. He's a combat medic in the Army, and they go through the NREMT class. And it was interesting because I was researching my EMT while he was doing the NREMT. And I had to call him and ask questions because they obviously changed the research class. this stuff, and the one thing that kept stumping me was this permanent negative stuff. I said, if it's not there, then why am I talking about it? And I'm gonna go, oh, no, you got it, you have to, and I'm like, okay, you say so. So anyway, any other questions?
Tell us a few of your long-standing employees that we hear very frequently.
Okay, on the overnights, you have John Hall,
Yeah.
who has been there, so I think he shook hands with Mr. Marconi. Then, Chris Sokolowski is also on the overnights. He's been there a while. Tonight, you have, Chris Jensen. One of the problems is Chris Jensen and I kind of sound the same. It's just the words, the phrases that we use are different. Because even my friends in Greenwich, I was a Greenwich cop for 20 years and worked in dispatch down there. So all my friends down at Greenwich EMS will always get Chris and I confused. They're getting better at it because now they're remembering, but they said that we sound alike. Stacy works during the day. Like I said, we have a whole slew of new people that are on, so there aren't that many voices that they recognize. But eventually, if you get an opportunity to come up and visit, you'll seem to be able to put faces to the voices. The move that we made from Bridgeport to